We are now going to go to the ending of this interview. We've got about 15 minutes left, and then I will thank you very much for your time and a great interview already, and we shall move on. And I call it the firing line, and basically I'm going to fire some names at you. Now, this is the WWF version of it, so the classic days of the WWF, I'm going to give you some names that I'm sure everyone's asked you about, and some names that maybe you haven't spoken about as well. So the first one is Rene Goulet.
Rene Goulet was a great human being. Uh, he just never really made it to the top, but he was a great human being and became a pretty good agent too. You know, he was a good man.
Honky Tonk Man.
Honky Tonk Man was the incarnation of Elvis. You know, he was a Honky Tonk Man is a character. He's on top of everything. He's a good promoter of the Honky Tonk Man.
Slick.
Slick was slick. You know, it took me a while to figure out that he was a preacher. You know, and you know he I think he did a good job, as you know, with his gimmick. You know, he came back with the preacher, but the preacher used to like to go dancing at night. You know.
So many preachers do, though.
he used to like to go dancing. I don't know. I don't know what that anything else happened besides the dancing, but he said he used to like to dance.
Junkyard Dog.
Junkyard Dog was a guy that would give you his shirt off his back. I met him in Louisiana. He helped me a lot. Unfortunately, he fell into hard times. I remember telling him, JYD, slow down with the gimmick. And he said, Teats, I got it under control. He always had it under control. But, he went from one thing to another. And, it was a sad ending. But talk about somebody who was over with the fans. I mean, this guy, he had Louisiana jumping. That's why Vince McMahon went and grabbed him.
Rick Rude, we'll say.
Ravishing Rick Rude. I don't know if you know, he was a tough man himself on the street. Before he got into he was like a street fighter in Minnesota, and I heard that he used to put his finger in his opponent's mouth and just rip the side of the face with his finger. He was they say he was the real thing. He was a tough guy.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Bruce Pritchard.
Bruce Pritchard. Well, Bruce Pritchard is the one that told me, Tito, you were the one that was supposed to get the belt. He's a guy that never wrestled in the ring, but he learned all the aspects of the ring of wrestling, and he was very knowledgeable. He could run the territory.
Did you ever get ribbed by the British Bulldogs?
No, thank God. Because I saw him do some ribs. They were pretty nasty. I just saw Jacques Rougeau, and he told me about the incident that I wasn't there when they had the fight in Florida, where not Davey Boy, but his partner Dynamite, I guess, beat up Jacques Rougeau, and then I was in the locker room when Jacques Rougeau made his comeback, and I guess he had a roll of dimes in his fist, and he just went and cold cocked him, and he told me, Tito, he says, I knew I was so nervous I couldn't sleep for 2 nights. He says, I knew I had to make it, I had to land the punch, and it was so funny because I didn't know. We were in the cafeteria lined up to eat, or they were lined up to eat. I was not lined up yet. I was doing something else, and all of a sudden Dynamite comes on, and he had like 4 teeth missing, and he couldn't understand it because there was no teeth there. And then I find out that it was Jacques Rougeau that cold cocked him. and then they sent them home. They sent them both. They sent them both home. They both got fired.
Jacques ended up staying there for quite a while. I'm just imagining just like the noise of many quarters just or dimes or whatever just hitting the floor and everyone just looking around and wondering why that noise has been made. We've got 5 minutes left, so I'll give you 5 minutes worth of names and then we'll do some plugs and then shut the podcast down. Who am I going to ask? Kevin Dunn.
Kevin Dunn?
Yeah. Because you don't even know the name, maybe you should move on. He was the director-producer of WWF TV for a while. Decades.
Yeah, I didn't have too much contact with the office and guys, producers, and I kept to the guys that would interview me and the guys were immediately there. I do remember seeing him, but I don't know much about him.
I'll move on. Jerry Briscoe.
I met Jerry Briscoe in 1977. The Briscoe brothers, him and his brother, they were very talented. I don't think Jerry had the charisma that Jack had, but he was with Vince for many, many years.
Let me see. The Road Warriors and Paul Ellering.
I mean, those guys came out of nowhere and they took wrestling by storm. I mean, but I hear that they were so stiff that they used to beat the crap out of Vern and Bruiser and all the old timers. They just would throw you like a piece of crap, and they were hurting people.
Were they a bad guy? Were they bad guys originally when they came into the AWA?
I wasn't there, so I don't know that they were bad guys.
I'd say heels. I'm sorry, I don't mean like bad people.
Oh yeah, I think they were heels. Yeah, they were heels, and they got over it because they were just beating the crap out of everybody.
Okay, I'll give you a few more then. Papa Shango.
Papa Shango was a man of many faces. I wrestled him a few matches. I always say I won my first WrestleMania 1 match, and I won my last one. It was a dark match, but one of the nicest guys that you'll ever meet.
Yeah, and I have over this. I've met him before, and he was a great interview as well. Sergeant Slaughter.
Sergeant Slaughter, great talent. When when I got to New York to Minneapolis, he was on his way to New York, and he told Vern he wanted to work with me, and because when he was in Charlotte, me and Don Cornoodle wrestled against him 2 against 1, and he never forgot. He was very grateful for us, 2 guys who were not garbage, go up against and put him over, and he volunteered to put me over all over Minnesota, and he helped me get over in Minnesota, by work because he was over so good.
Yeah. Good for him. I'd hope to interview him as well one day. I've got 4 more names here. I want to ask about Nailz, because you were still with the company at that time. Yes,
Nailz. Nailz was a tough guy. I don't know if he ever was really in prison, but I heard that some of the boys, and I'm not going to mention any names, but some of the boys were teasing him and getting him all fired up for when he got to TV, because Vince was paying him, way lower than his opponents, no matter who his opponents were, and they had him all pumped up. And when he got to the show, the rumor had it that Nailz is going after Vince, and sure enough, he went right straight to Vince's wherever Vince was at, and I never know how much damage he did, but I heard that it took quite a few guys to pull him back.
That's what you get for being cheap, then, I suppose. And for the very last name, and then we'll call it a day on the podcast, Bobby Heenan.
Bobby Heenan, to me, was one of the greatest talents in the business. Not only could he talk, but he could work. He used to say stuff about me that probably wouldn't be able to say anymore. called him the Mexican burrito, Tito Santana. I I saw him in his '57 Chevy with his family, selling tacos in the taco stand. You know, he was the guy that insulted you, but the more he insulted you, the more he helped you get over. He was a good man. He was so sad to see what happened to him at the end of his life. I mean, I don't know if you remember seeing his face. There wasn't much of his face left. I mean, he only his wife could understand him, but he kept his sense of humor until he left.